Well, I guess now it might be time, Brian, that we head over to see what the folks down in Jacksonville are doing. Boy, do they still have a headquarters left? AEW and Tony and our friends over there. What is Jacksonville still around? What is the status of everything down there in Florida?
Oh, you're talking about because of the hurricane?
Yeah, no, I figured Jacksonville just packed up and fucking moved.
I thought you meant because of the disaster that is this season for the Jaguars.
No, I'm not even talking. We'll talk more about that, or we may have talked about that. We don't even know. I'm saying, is everyone safe in Jacksonville? Was Jacksonville one of the harmed cities? It seems like it's over in that up in that area, Tallahassee, Jacksonville, depending on which way it went through. Did it do a 7-10 split?
I'm not sure, but of course we send our best to the listeners, especially in North Carolina. I was just seeing that on the news as we are recording, but the best to everyone, and hopefully everyone in Jacksonville is safe.
I sat
from the booking and the weather.
Well, yeah, from the booking and the weather. I sat through Hurricane Hugo when I lived in Charlotte, North Carolina. Did I ever tell you that?
I'm not sure.
Hurricane.
The hurricane? Ooh,
the hurricane
sounds frightening.
It was coming through. The Hurricane Hugo for short, I had 3 days off. It was 1988, September, my birthday, right? And it just so happened that I didn't even ask for it, but I had 3 days off. And that was a time where we were never getting days off, right? And so I was going to sit and watch my TV wrestling tapes because we still had territories, and I was going to have my cake, and I was going to enjoy my own bed and my air conditioning and my puppies and my family and the whole 9 yards. And the goddamn, as soon, the first of the 3 days off, Hurricane Hugo came through, knocked the power out. My wife at the time and the dogs are in the bathtub with a blanket over them, taking shelter, and I am sitting cross-legged in my fucking bed in the bedroom, in the dark with a candle lit, eating my fucking cake with a fork, looking out the window at shit bending sideways and fucking witches on bicycles blowing by. Good God damn it. It's my fucking time off. God damn it. And I'm eating that fucking cake. Guess when the power came back on?
When?
1 hour after I had left 3 days later for the airport to go back on the road.
Kind of sounds like that now. What's going on in the background now?
What? I don't hear anything, Brian. What are you talking about? It's quiet as a church over here.
I hope you can get Toto inside and, get some cover.
I'm not being buzzed by Air Force bombardiers. The friendly lawn gentlemen, the grass cutting people are here doing their thing. It just rained 4 inches here, for Christ's sake. So we got a lot of grass. It's getting tall out there. It's a jungle out there.
The grass cutting people?
The grass cutting gentlemen. Fine, upstanding grass reapers. Anyway, speaking of reaping...
A noisy gang of guys, if I say so myself.
They're raucous. But everybody always say, we can't hear these noises, Brian. Randy Orton's got voices, you got noises. And AEW has neither Randy Orton nor noises over there. It's silent as a church over there as well. Are we talking about this television program?
AEW Dynamite. This was the annual Grand Slam extravaganza from Arthur Ashe Stadium in Queens, New York. They've been going there. This is the third one, I believe.
Yeah, well, they've gone from Grand Slam to stunted bunt. What do they call it when a bunt doesn't work? A busted bunt? You're the baseball guy.
No, they don't really, I don't think there's really a term for it, actually. Now that
term for it, just cut the guy from the fucking team?
Well, no, you don't do that. If the guy botches a bunt, you don't.
Well, a botched bunt. There's the term. Well, if
he doesn't get the bunt down, usually that's what you hear. If he doesn't get the bunt down.
If he can't even hit the ball, just a little dribble halfway to the fucking pitcher, why do they want that guy on the team? We're not asking for a home run here. Just knock it 25 feet.
Well, again, it's not as easy as you say, but again, you want to keep the ball down. You don't want it to go up. You want it to go down. If it goes up, they may catch it.
Well, not if it's only going 15, 20 feet. I'd just whack it straight up and let it fall straight in front of the pitcher and let him just be dumbfounded.
So you wouldn't be bunting, you'd actually be swinging it like a little child.
Well, no, I might bunt it.
It's not a bunt. Do you know what a bunt is?
The bunt is where it doesn't go very far. That's what the bunt is.
How do you hold the bat when you bunt?
You gotta work with it. You're hitting it a working shot.
What do you mean?
Instead of trying to, what do you?
I don't know what you mean. What do you mean you?
What are you talking about? Instead of taking a big swing and trying to hit it as hard as you can and trying to knock it out of the park, there you work the swing, so you don't really put any power behind it, and it just goes poof. It just poof.
Well, I mean, you kind of do like a half swing, but you know, sometimes you want to kind of push the ball one way or the other.
Which two motherfuckers in this conversation right now has actually struck another human being in the stomach with a baseball bat?
Which one of us has struck a ball with a baseball bat?
No, I asked first.
I'm talking about baseball, not
I'm talking about working baseball
or whatever
shots.
you're talking
I've hit
about.
people and I've never injured anyone with my working baseball shots, so I'd be a great bunter.
So you call that a bunt, what you were doing?
Well, I was bunting them. I wasn't home running them.
Well, that'd
hurt somebody.
All right. I will wait till we have some video examples to show you for next time. But we are back to Dynamite.
A Ring of Honor show in Chicago in, what was it, 2000? That's when I hurt my knee, as a matter of fact. 2006-ish. The night before, I'd whacked old Necro Butcher in the stomach with a baseball bat. He was fine. Of course, he had pretty high tolerance for things, but nevertheless, he was unscathed.
We're not talking baseball. We're talking
That's
tennis.
on video there.
We're talking tennis.
We're talking tennis.
Arthur Ashe Stadium, Grand Slam.
That's right. Was Arthur Ashe the only sports personality that wasn't on the commentary team? Did we establish that Arthur Ashe is still living?
Arthur Ashe has passed away.
Okay, that's why he wasn't on commentary. But everybody else was. It was like the fucking chorus line in a Bob Fosse musical. You had Sockface, you had Shivani, you had Taz, you had Jim Ross, Justin Smiley Roberts was doing the ring announcing. Do you think they had a run on tuxedos at Men's Warehouse, trying to outfit the biggest announced team in history?
Boy, those gardeners, I'm glad they don't have to outfit them. That sounds like a crew of 100 people back there.
Well, no, that's my helicopter. I'm late for my next appointment.
The commentating, let's just bring it up here. A very popular topic because it's true. It's awful. It's so bad. Excalibur is world-class awful. Shivani is world-class awful. And then Taz just has no function because he's with these idiots. It's so bad. It's so bad. And then
let's let Jim Ross see if he can get a word in edgewise before somebody else takes a completely different direction.
Jim Ross can say whatever he wants. And sometimes it's really good stuff for the match. Whatever he says, it doesn't matter. Excalibur's going to take it and go in a different direction and then shoot the Taz every time. Isn't that right, Taz? And then Taz has nothing to say because it's not like he jumps back in with, and that's what's happening. It's like, well, yeah, that's right. Or absolutely. Like they're agreeing with each other instead of just going with it.
But also, he'll go down some line, and you think there's more to come, and suddenly he'll say, "Right, Taz?" And Taz, yeah, okay, yeah, there you.
Great call.
But also, I mean, you can't. If you had Jim Ross, Gordon Soley, Lance Russell, and Bob Caudle all together, you couldn't have a coherent. Goddamn, it's too many people. Anyway, so. Nigel McGuinness versus Bryan Danielson opened up the Grand Slam. And by the way, they seem like they had a fair amount of people for their standards these days, but that's again a big dark building because however many they had, it wasn't half the capacity. So how many did they have there at the Slam?
According to WrestleTix, I don't know if this is the final number, but as of the next day, estimated tickets distributed 8,319.
Oh, yeah, that's better than we thought they were going to do. But what were they still selling tickets the next day?
Well, this is the fourth. I was wrong. It's not the third. This is the fourth Grand Slam. The first one, 2021, September 22nd, 19,079. The second one, 2022, 13,321. And then 2023, 11,263, and this one 8,319. I'm going to put my money in next year. It's going to be 6,700.
Yeah, they'll say they went down 6,000, and they went down 2,000, and they went to 3,000. I'll put in 5,900.
All right, let's stick with this next year.
Advanced prediction.
Next year they're doing Grand Slam in Australia, so we're talking next year. Arthur Ashe, if they run it, and I guess that is questionable. We'll see if they run it. I'm saying 6,700. You're saying 5,900.
Yeah, but it may be a moot point because now that he's dead, has he left the place to somebody?
Not to AEW, that was for sure.
I just wonder, are they going to close it up now that he's passed on, or are they got somebody else in line to run it? You know, he was real hands-on. He was taking tickets and everything.
I don't know where you're going.
I'm trying not to talk about this television show. So,
Danielson versus Nigel McGuinness.
Yes, and I think Nigel McGuinness is a wonderful person. But the muddling of this story, let's talk about the muddled story first. See if I get this right, Brian, or help me explain this muddled story. Originally, it was going to be Danielson and Darby, right, for the title. That's what they had?
Darby, it had been established, won the right to a title match. Was it necessarily at Grand Slam? That's the only thing I'm not sure of.
Okay, but then the point is Moxley, whether he's a heel or a babyface or in his mind the son of a sea cook or whatever the fuck is going on with him, came out and said on TV and said, after I put the plastic bag over Danielson's head, he ain't going to be able to wrestle at Grand Slam. You ain't going to be able to get your title match. How about you put the title match up against me? Which actually made no sense.
Well, you're right.
That still doesn't.
So according to Moxley, it would have been Darby's match in that promo. So yeah, you're right.
And then in that same television show that they had established that since Danielson wasn't able to wrestle Darby, he already had his world title match if he wanted it, that Nigel was challenging Danielson. But not for the title, just for a match. But then they started advertising it if Danielson shows up. If he's clear, well, if he shows up, why wouldn't he? You see where I'm going with all of this shit, right? So now, playing off of that premise that they have set, they came on the air with Nigel going to the ring, and all of the announcers, all 27 of them, nobody's heard from Danielson since All Out. No guarantee he'll be here. Nobody's seen him all day. I'm like, how the fuck could he? If you're about to play this fucking guy's music on a national television program that's being broadcast live, wouldn't he have to be standing there in front of you? Help me.
There's no help. It's been laid out badly, but the fans there will forgive it because they got the match they wanted, which was Danielson versus Nigel, and I guess the match they want, which is Moxley versus Danielson, although after that Moxley match, I don't know how anyone could ever want to watch more of him ever. But we'll get there.
But back to this. So then they play Danielson's music, and nobody comes out. And then Nigel gets the microphone and says Danielson is a coward, and asks for a 10 count from the referee to be declared the winner of the match and for Danielson to be stripped of the title, even though it's not a title match, which the announcers actually even said. And then the referee gets to 6 on his 10 count, and then the final countdown starts playing. So there's another $200,000. God damn it. Used to if Kerry Silken went to the casino when they were in Dayton or whatever, you know, there was a casino nearby and he lost a couple of $100, the Ring of Honor guys would go, oh shit, there goes Chicago. But it was to fuck. And they start playing this music and Jim Ross jumps in and says, what a great ovation for the champ. Well, he hadn't come out yet. We still don't know if he's there. They just switched music. They were playing different kind of music. And then, I mean, this thing is snake bit, brother. And then when JR says that, Tony says, "Is he here?" And then guess what? He walks out. And I'm like, what the fuck is this mess? So people.
And this is for a match that like doesn't matter.
Well,
and
that's
this big entrance too.
That's where I was going with that. It matters to, it matters to. It matters to Tony Khan because he watched the Ring of Honor tapes. And it matters to Brian, and it matters to Nigel, and it matters to their friends. And it matters to the people that are still around, that are still watching wrestling, that watched the Ring of Honor matches in 2009, and all of those people put together that I just mentioned is a very small group. And the rest of the people know, again, even if they did a package for 1 week on TV that Nigel used to be a wrestler, and that was admirable that they did that, they're saying, here's a guy that hadn't had a match in 13 years, and he's an announcer. He's in there with the world champion of our company, and boy, it's going to be nip and tuck. Help me with that. It's so that Tony could give Brian and Nigel and that very small group of really allegedly smart fans a feel-good moment on one of his big national television programs. In New York City, in 20,000-seat building, it's not half full. So...
And it didn't look... I mean, again, they went a while. It was a competitive match. Danielson won as he should have, as anyone would have predicted he would have. But at times it was, and again, Nigel hasn't wrestled in a long time, and he probably shouldn't be working a stiff style, considering the layoff alone.
Well, they weren't working a stiff style.
Exactly. But they went the other way at times.
And again, their last match in Ring of Honor in New York was my first match back with Ring of Honor after TNA. That was 2009. And they were great matches. I'm not saying they weren't. And Nigel's in great shape he's had health issues and been out of the ring. He looks great for whatever his age may be. But this was a really inside match. And it also, they wanted to kind of do a little bit of all the kind of stuff they used to do, but they went from World of Sport style wrestling to Nigel was trying to crush Danielson's arm with the steel stairs. So they went from World of Sport to World of Attempted Murder in the same match. And what they could have done with this is Tony could have said, tell you what, guys, the next time we do a Ring of Honor pay-per-view, then you should main event that. And Nigel, you call Danielson out. And Brian, you accept what, however, but that's the audience they were going for. And this just makes no sense to put on their current flagship program. And nobody was going to get hurt because they didn't want to hurt each other. But part of the morbid attraction of their original matches was that somebody was always getting hurt because they were fucking beating the shit out of each other and
they were physical matches. Those are really physical matches, and this wasn't that, and it shouldn't have been that, and it couldn't be that, and it was all right, but
I mean, they popped for Nigel's clotheslines. And as a matter of fact, at one point, Nigel hit a clothesline and got a 2 count, and then hit another clothesline and got another 2 count, and the people were really up. And then they sat back down because the people were ready for the comeback and the finish, but the boys weren't ready to give it to them yet. And they did some more stuff, and then finally, Brian kind of got the label lock and not very tight. But then they were kind of jockeying out of it, and then he got back into it, not very tight. And then the network even fucked the finish up because the idea was, as Nigel is about to tap out in the label lock, he's going to scream, "Thank you," which is a guy show respect to his old nemesis, right? The fucking guy with the audio button at TBS thought he said "fuck you" and bleeped the "thank you." So the goddamn announcers had to say, "I think he said thank you." Because the audio muted it where it's like, it's distorted. When he said "thank you," oh God.
It turns out this whole time Moxley's been telling us to go thank ourselves.
There you have it. So I guess now they're getting so gun-shy about whatever these wild, crazy maniacs will say on this program that they're just bleeping anytime somebody yells something. But I hate to criticize these guys, but I got to criticize these guys. It just wasn't the venue, and it was too long, and it didn't help anybody but make them feel good in the end.
Is that the end for Nigel? Is he going to be like a wrestler?
Is this the end for Little Rico?
I mean, he did the Battle Royal in Wembley, and now this. Is that the end? Is he actually still in the middle of a comeback, or was it all just so he could have the match with Danielson?
No, from what it looks like to me, now I could be wrong, I have no inside knowledge, but it looks like to me everybody likes Nigel, and they should. Tony likes Nigel. You know what Tony does for his friends. So Nigel should get to wrestle in Wembley, and Nigel should get to have one more match with Bryan. I don't know whether this is a long continued comeback tour or not. But in that case, he should have just gone ahead and beat Danielson, because what the fuck? And then Christian, and they've got to end it with comedy. Christian Cage's music plays, and he comes out with the contract that he can sign and get a world title match anytime, and they're going, oh my God, if he cashes in against Danielson, he's just gone 15 minutes or 20 minutes or whatever with this hard match. And Pip Sabian sneaks up behind Christian and steals his pin and runs off. So then Christian runs to chase him and goes through the curtain and comes face to face with Pac and Claudio. And he gets scared and he runs the other way. And then we were 27 minutes into the program by the time that all of that was over with.
Do you think we'll have a match for the pen?
Pin on a pole.
Is the pen necessary? Do you need that pen to sign that contract?
Well, it's the only pen he had.
It's the first time stolen pen theft was a
no. It's the only pen he had, and he hasn't had any lead in his pencil since the Attitude Era. So, but anyway, speaking of the pencil being poorly packed. The next match on this program was for the FTW title. How about FTT? Fuck this title. Wouldn't that be more apropos?
Well, that's kind of what the ending was here, isn't it? In a sense, not to say fuck.
Well, I think maybe Taz just demanded his property back. He don't trust these people anymore. But we'll get there. Hook versus Roderick Strong. And, of course, and he's got Taven and Bennett in. Taven and Bennett never wrestle on this show, and they're better than half the people that are wrestling on this show. And they rang the bell because this is the FTW title. Anything goes, no disqualification, lazy booking. And they were on the floor with kendo sticks and interference from the Stooges within the first 60 seconds of the thing. So, seriously, what is the point? I will get to the meat of the matter. After taking a variety of bumps on chairs set up in the middle of the ring for no good reason, Hook choked him out. Imagine that. And then Roddy and Taven and Bennett are standing there, and Roddy offers his hand and shakes Hook's hand and hugs him and rolls out. And then Taven and Bennett shake Hook's hand, and they leave.
It was like they were moving to another town. What was that?
Well, that's it. It was like a goodbye. Like, well, you know, it's been great working with you, kid, but it's time for us to mosey on down the road. And they were just hitting each other with fucking weapons and chairs and kendo sticks and whatever the fuck, and try to drop each other on their necks. And oh, okay, shake hands and see you later.
Shake hands with me and my friends.
All is forgiven, though, apparently. And then, or maybe is it Hook that's saying sayonara here? Because then Tony Schiavone, ace reporter, gets to the fucking bottom of the thing he says, and this is a quote from Tony, in 1998, 3 miles away at the Elks Lodge, the FTW title was born by your father, Taz. Besides the horrible grammar, what kind of smart mark bullshit is that for national television? Yeah, we used to wrestle at the Elks Lodge, is what the average... What? The Elks Lodge. They're in a 20,000-seat building. It's not half full, but they're talking about the Elks Lodge 25 years ago. So anyway, Hook says, thank you, Tony. But all good things must come to an end, so on behalf of my family, I thank every wrestler who's ever competed for this title and all the fans who have supported it. And in this very moment, the FTW title is officially retired. And he hands it back to Taz, and he hugs Taz, and Hook walks off. And Taz had a gleam in his eye there. It was a somber situation, would have brought a tear to a glass eye. So now they've retired the FTW title. And like I say, maybe it was Taz just calling his property back in. Like, what the fuck? What happened here?
I saw this as a good thing. They reduced the championship from AEW. That's something they've had to do. They probably should do it a few more times. There's too many titles. And if this is their way of acknowledging that and getting rid of one of them with a very happy moment where Hook wins the title. Well, here he was the champion. Kept the title.
Yes.
And then shook everyone's hand and then gave it to his dad. It was a very nice, neutral, sports-based moment. I liked it. Goodbye, FTW.
Well, the only way it would make any difference is they followed with another 7 or 8 belts. But just besides that, the heels being heels until they're happy heels, and then I don't know what the fuck is going on. You know, Brian, maybe what the thing is that Taz said, you know, I'm not getting any younger. And I don't know whether this company's going to last too much longer or not. I need my belt back, my FTW title belt, so I can maybe auction it off or something, raise some cash for my retirement.
Really? You don't think he's going to leave it to Hook?
Well, he's already left it to Hook, and Hook barely hung on to it. I think now is time for him to cash in. You know, he ought to go to our friends at Shopify. Because I bet you they could get him a ton of money. He could just start selling belts and boots and tights and all kinds of headgear, all kinds of things.
Well, maybe we could wait a few years and Hook can go to Shopify and sell the belt that he now has when Taz, moves to Florida.
I don't think you ought to wait to go to Shopify. I think you ought to do it right now because nobody does selling better than Shopify. That you've seen the mushrooming amount of rich people in the world. People are getting richer all over the world. It's because they're hooked up with Shopify. Because that's the home of the #1 checkout on the planet. I will have you know, Brian, that ShopPay boosts conversions up to 50%. Now, it used to be hard to get paid. What you used to have to do is you used to have to put your goods and your merchandise and the things you were trying to sell, you put them in a big sack. And you put them on your back and you trudged. You trudged through the mud and the snow, and you went from outpost to outpost. And sometimes they might give you a dollar bill, but before that, they'd give you a coin of the realm. And sometimes they wouldn't even do that. They would give you pelts and skins, raccoon furs and otter claws and the like. that served as monetary compensation. And then you'd have to trudge and slodge that back to put it in the bank there at the local general store with good old Cincinnatus. But no more, Brian. You don't have to do that anymore. Because Shopify, if you're selling your goods and merchandise through our friends at Shopify, if somebody wants to pay with a raccoon pelt, that's what conversions means. They will take that pelt and they'll give you the equivalent amount in United States coinage. Now, what more service can you want performed than that?
I can tell you what more service. The truth. None of that is true, ladies and gentlemen. You cannot trade any sort of pelt off any sort of dead animal. That is not the kind of converting.
No,
we're talking about converting visitors of your website into paying customers, happy customers, receiving happy packages from your friends, from you actually, and your friends at Shopify will be there to help you.
Well, I'm not saying dead animals. I'm just saying the skin off of dead animals.
Well, you're not saying live animals.
Well, no, live animals, now they'll convert those too. Now, let's say you want to pay with chickens.
No, you can't pay with, you can mail them apparently, but you can't pay with chickens.
You know what? In Evansville, Indiana, this old guy used to pay Christine Jarrett for his general admission ticket sometimes with a bushel of beans from his garden. And they'll convert the beans too.
This is why I'm happy Vince McMahon got wrestling out of the smoke-filled barns.
But he was there every week for years and years because of those beans. And I'll tell you what, folks, you're going to be there for years and years laying back and relaxing with farting through silk with all the money in your bank account because of Shopify. No more carts going abandoned. Way more sales going just like that, see? So if you're into growing your business, your e-commerce platform better be ready to sell wherever your customers are existing there, on the web, in your store, in their feed. If they're in their if they're in their feed, does that mean they're having lunch?
No, in their social media feed, not their bag of food.
Oh, I feel, well, people on the go. I've seen that's fashionable in the bigger cities these days. They're just tying a bag around their neck where they can lean over and graze. But anyway, no matter what kind of business or operation you're trying to run, Shopify will help you take more money in because they will not take no for an answer. If these people don't want to pay you, or by gum, they're gonna get a knock on the door. So right now, folks, as the lawnmowers,
sounds like someone with a chainsaw is coming for you right now, Jim.
They're working on the wall right now. But they use Shopify also. I can't not pay them. I've tried to run them off. They're unfireable. That's another thing. If you're using Shopify, people can't fire you. You have your job for life.
That's not true.
They're afraid of Shopify.
They're getting closer, Jim, but that's not true.
It's inside the wall. So upgrade your business right now and sign up for your $1 a month trial period right now. And for heaven's sake, if you can't afford $1, what are you doing right? You ought to be digging a ditch somewhere if you don't have $1 hanging around. Anyway, Shopify.com/JCE, all lowercase. That's Shopify.com/JCE to get the $1 a month trial period and upgrade your selling today. Ooh, that's sweet selling.
All right, well, I don't know about how much sweet selling there was on this show, especially in the next match, but let's go back to AEW Dynamite.
Well, that's the problem. The next match, people were calling this a great tag team match between the Hardley Boys, Maddie and Nikki, and Osprey and Felcher for the tag team title. And I'm trying to it was a great, big, long match.
Multiple picture-in-pictures.
Multiple. And you couldn't follow the shit when it was the only thing on the screen, much less with a douche commercial on the left-hand side. Did I write down how long this thing lasted? It was 13, said easily 20 minutes. But here's the problem. It wasn't a great tag team match. It wasn't even a good tag team match. It was a wonderful athletic exhibition It was, was it more video game-ish or more kung fu movie-ish for the things that the kids play when they're bored these days? It was a lot of that, but this wasn't a wrestling match, and it's not. It's AEW. Brian, what tag team match of the last 5 years that we have watched did I say was the greatest tag team match I've seen in 20 years or maybe ever? What company presented that match?
I think it was AEW. I think it was FTR versus Juice Robinson and Jay White.
Yes, it was. And they went an hour, 58 minutes actually. And it was one of the greatest tag team matches, if not, as I said, the best I've ever seen. So it's not like I won't give AEW any credit. It's just that whatever this was, it wasn't a tag team wrestling match. There were no tags within 30 seconds. They just all jumped in and started doing four-way spots. And that desiccated corpse of a referee just stands there slack-jawed because why does he referee all the Buckaroos' matches? Because he's their guy. And he doesn't do anything. And he doesn't care that he looks like a feckless asshole. And
every match is a Texas Tornado gymnastics match. And this was classic Bucks of several years ago when it was nonstop, big moves, kick out of everything. The fans going to the indie shows went crazy. It got exposed on the national stage. People stopped caring. But it was a Texas Tornado match.
And, the guy's having to stand in position forever to, catch the dive or the flip or the whatever. They have the baby face straining to make a tag when both the heels are just in the ring beating his partner up and the referee's then are doing nothing about it. And they stay in for all the spots, and then they'll tag in and out until they come in for more spots.
If you pay attention to Rick Knox during this match, it becomes so interesting watching him do nothing. At times he just stands in the corner kind of split-legged with his hands at his side, and he does nothing. He's just watching what's happening.
And at one point, he got a round of boos because he was so zoned out by just every repetitive thing he was seeing in front of him looked like they were on visual speed search. That then Osprey gets a cover and the referee standing and not do anything. Oh, shit. And he runs and count 1, 2, and the people booed the shit out of him. Like, what the fuck? You haven't done anything in 15 minutes and you're standing there staring at this. And then one of the baby faces has to lay on the floor and sit there and watch the two heels kick the shit out of his partner until it's time for him to come in and make a save. And then they go through the series of moves where you can't tell who is beating who up. One guy will pick a guy up for a fucking power bomb, and the guy will spin in the air and grab him by the hair and face buster him. And that guy will jump up and turn around, and the other guy will stick his foot down his fucking throat with a flying savate kick. And then everybody will suddenly just decide to sell all at once when nobody sold anything. And then at one point they gave Felcher a spike tombstone pile driver off the top rope onto the apron. And then he's on the floor. He was dead for 9 seconds, then rolls back in. And by the time they come back from the commercial break, he's giving stereo styles clashes to one of the Buckaroos with his partner, Willie Boy. And then they did more four-way video. Is this what the video games look like these days?
I don't think you play any video games. I don't see any video games that are like this. Even their video game wasn't like this, and their video game bombed.
Well, because, human beings don't do these moves, and they make no sense, and they require the obvious cooperation, and I'm thinking, what are they acting like? Because this is not wrestling shit. What are they? Is it the live-action kung fu movie, then, or are they trampoline gymnastifying?
You know, whether they realize it or not, it's a live-action The Kid with the Golden Arm. It's a Shaw Brothers film. So that's what this is.
Well, and then... Here, the fates were even trying to be kind to me. They were 16 minutes into this fucking thing, And I recorded the program on two different DVRs in the house, right? And on both of them, 16 minutes in, I got a sudden black screen, and then the DVR would jump ahead. One of them jumped ahead 4 minutes. One of them only jumped ahead 2 minutes. But it was like automatically the cable gods were trying to say, he can't take anymore. Get to the end of this fucking thing. So whatever happened in that 2 minutes, they come back. They're all diving to the floor. And Don Fallis gets up and gives Kyle a screwdriver. He was giving everybody a screwdriver, and then some of them would use it and some of them wouldn't, and some of them would take it away from the other ones and they'd try to stab each other in the face and hit the turnbuckle or whatever. And they were using a screwdriver. Well, now the screwdriver returns. Don gives Kyle the screwdriver, and then Don runs around and draws the referee. And old Kyle rolls in the ring and he draws it back and he's going to stab one of the fucking goofs. And then suddenly Ospreay is there and grabs his arm and jerks the screwdriver away. And he said, no, no, no. No, no. You can't, bruv. You can't, bruv. You can't stab him, bruv, with the screwdriver. You think my impressions are going to get over like yours do?
I like the cut of your jib, not your screwdriver, bruv.
Yeah, yours is better, I guess. Anyway, so the Ospreay, the narc, grabs the screwdriver and walks, instead of just throwing it out of the ring, he walks over and hands it to the referee. Like, here, I want you to know that we're not using this, that you don't even know is happening because you're a complete idiot and you've turned your back on everything.
You really have all the referees to hand this important
here, instead of just flinging it out of the ring, here, I'm going to entrust you with this. So then old fucking corpse referee immediately walks to the other side of the ring and leans out and starts trying to hand it physically to somebody and obviously turning his back so as not to see anything. So Maddie has gotten one of the title belts, and as Ospreay turns, and why does everybody, when they turn around to go in the other direction, they turn at a dead run? They suddenly turn and take off like, I'm going to go now. And he runs right into the belt. Boom. Maddie nails him with the belt. And then Maddie rolls the goddamn, I think he dropped the one belt, and then Felcher rolls Maddie up somehow. No, wait, Maddie hit Ospreay with the belt. That's what it was. And then he's got the belt, but when Felcher rolls Matt up, Matt throws the belt out to Nick, and Nick hits Felcher with the belt or something. But somehow they ended up hitting Felcher with the belt in the head too. And they cover him and they got a 2 count. They can't even fuck the fucking baby faces when the baby faces that they're fucking are mostly heels. And then they picked him up and did that shitty double knee lift, and that did the trick. 1, 2, 3. So it was a goddamn ridiculous finish. And
in a match filled with ridiculous finishes.
In a match filled with ridiculous non-finishes. And and again, who were we? So we're cheering for the fucking team managed by the evil bald guy that gives people screwdrivers to stab people with. What?
The part where Matt Jackson kicked out of the big moves was the most egregiously unbelievable thing of the match. And again, wrestling is an unbelievable sport, but there are certain things that push the imagination beyond what's normal. Matt Jackson reverting back into Road Warrior Buck again, where he's the strongest force in the universe. Ridiculous. They did multiple finishes for minutes on end, kicking out of everything, while the referee did nothing. This match, there are a lot of people who thought it was amazing, to a lot of us who thought this 5 years ago, 7 years ago, whatever it was. It's the same thing we've seen before. It's just a Texas Tornado match where the Bucks get to do the stuff they want to do with their friends. and it doesn't fit into the world of professional wrestling, doesn't fit into the rules of wrestling. And I wasn't a big fan of this match.
It is, as I've mentioned before, the reason why that they were able to attain the position they have attained is because they found marks that were willing to let them do shit that nobody else could do, wanted to do, or should have done. And then you get over until everybody realizes that's the only thing you can fucking do.
Yeah, well, that's the problem, too. This is a stadium show in New York, and it was the smallest stadium show crowd that they've done in New York. And this was just a match on the show. Most Dynamites draw, equal to, if not less than at this point, what the Bucks are drawing on the Indies. Right? When we were told they were the big drawing card and going to all these random Indies and drawing big houses against, the Hardys or whoever they were working with, the crowds are smaller now than they were then.
And they're in Arthur Ashe Tennis Stadium. What about if they decided to play tennis where they let one group of the doubles people, they can both cross back and forth and hit it on either side they want, and they can catch it and throw it back with their bare hands if they can do that. I bet it might pop the people, but should they just be allowed to do that because they can't really play and follow the rules?
And the other sad thing is the team that comes out of this looking impressive is Ospreay and Fletcher, who I'd never seen team before. And they had size, and they looked good together. They had size there. Because someone recently said to me about Daniel Garcia, they go, you think he's a big guy. He's a lot smaller than you realize. But because everyone on AEW TV is so small, he looks big. Who knows how big they are? I think Fletcher legit is like 6'5" or something, but they look good in there together.
Well, that's the thing. If it's too late now, because Ospreay's, he's closer to the end than the beginning with the way that he works and the shit that he does. But if these two guys were producible, what a fucking babyface team with all the fancy things they could do if they did 3 of them per match and had strong heels to call a match. You could make money with these two guys as a top babyface tag team. Athletically, visually, cosmetically, they got fancy outfits, they're flashy. They look good, but it's just more of this nonsensical fucking parody wrestling that that they all have to do when they get in there, and they take the feedback of the smallest group of fans possible to determine what they should do with their goddamn careers. Anyway, would you like to move on?
Let's move on from whatever that was.
Yes, because poor Prince Nana. So I don't know what the benefit of this is, but they have Tony Schiavone bring Prince Nana out on stage and beat around the bush in some, again, tortured way of getting to the point. How's Swerve? And Nana starts actually getting to do a promo. Can you remember the last time Nana just did a promo for the guy he manages?
Never.
So he's actually starting to do a promo. And of course, he has to start it with, putting Swerve over, said that there's nothing that can stop him mentally, but physically he's not cleared. And as soon as he gets that out, here comes MVP, making his debut and stealing the show. And the way that they had him do it was by coming out and cutting a promo on Nana putting Swerve over like, the greatest thing in the world, and saying all of his troubles are Nana's fault. And it was a hell of a promo, and much of it was true in terms of that Nana in the booking, in the creative, has never gotten to say anything or do anything meaningful. He never interfered when Swerve was a heel for the most part. When he's been a babyface and he's been attacked, Nana wasn't even worked in to fight back. So now MVP comes out and tells him off, and then Nana has to stand there with a blank look on his face when MVP says, here's my card, give it to Swerve. And he walks off, and Nana, again, he does. You don't let a guy go out there and just get buried and say nothing at all, do you? Especially when he manages one of your top fucking guys? Help me.
And if MVP's a heel, which he is, that's the best way to use him. He came out there and told the truth. He just came out there and
yes,
you agree with him. As he's saying, it's like, yeah, you know what? If Swerve really did have a good manager like MVP, maybe things would be different. Nana danced, even though Swerve wasn't even out there. He danced and he had like a bag of coffee. And then he started his promo.
But also then if MVP is the heel, which it sounded like he was, but I thought Swerve just switched back heel. But then Nana would be a heel, but they like Swerve and they like Nana.
No, Swerve became a babyface again when they burned his house down.
Oh, I forgot about that. Was the last thing. Yeah, he was a heel for 3 weeks before that. Okay, then the heel just came out and told the babyface off, and the babyface said absolutely nothing and did nothing about it.
What? Well, obviously, this is the setup you would think Swerve turning down MVP, and then MVP has a problem with Swerve, and that sets up maybe whoever may be coming in with MVP, But
the problem with that is, why would he turn MVP down at this point? If you saw Nana, if you were Swerve, would you say, hey, why didn't you tell that motherfucker off? Why didn't you tell him to fuck this and fuck you and fuck the other or something? You don't have Nana just stand there and like a mute. Even if that was the idea that they had, someone should have been producing that should have been, well, where's Nana's balls? Can we go run find them and give them back to him? He should have taken the card and torn it up in his face and said, if you want to talk to Swerve Strickland, I can't do his accent, then you go through Prince Nana. And MVP goes, oh, we'll see about that. And then, now you got a goddamn conflict. What you have there is a doormat. Right?
What do you think of the idea of MVP coming in potentially with Lashley or Shelton Benjamin? Some people have had a problem with it because of specifically the age of the wrestlers I just mentioned. Some people have a problem with it because they're WWF superstars, whatever it may be. WWE, excuse me. What are your thoughts on MVP, who I thought came across like a major league star right away on the show? What are your thoughts on him potentially having the Hurt Business?
Well, I don't think it matters MVP's age because he's a manager, and I think a lot of people know who the fuck he is, as opposed to the Federal Witness Protection Program participants that are on a lot of this program. Yes, MVP should be there, and I'm pretty sure that Shelton Benjamin, however old Shelton is right now, is in better physical condition and could stretch the living shit out of everybody on the goddamn roster. I'd love to see, we see Moxley in these shoot grappling tournaments or whatever he's doing up there in fucking Cincinnati with the Home Depot counter boy stretching him. I'd love to see what Shelton Benjamin could do with that entire goddamn roster. I don't think he'd start a sweat until he got past number 25. With Lashley, my only concern is he Andre the Giant on that roster? Who could believably even, be asked to fucking put his boots on for him? But my God, he's a oh, Jesus Christ. He's a major star again from the other company that everybody knows who the fuck he is. And the Hurt Business was a thing. The people watched. It couldn't hurt. See what I did there? But no, besides Lashley, looking like a goddamn Japanese movie monster next to the rest of the roster, I think they would be an addition. And as I said, find me anybody that is in the shape Shelton Benjamin is in on that roster, and I'll fucking eat your hat. How's that? Well, Brian, I know you had to have watched the next one, the big one-on-one conflict between Maria May and Yuka Sakazaki. Did you pay close attention to this?
First of all, let me say something. Mariah May, you got me doing it. Your stupid nicknames. Mariah May.
Mariah. They call the wind one of those things.
Mariah May is really good. She belongs in NXT or WWE. With that said, there's a lot going on this week, and if there was a match I was going to skip, I thought it would be what most people every week on the show actually skip, the women's segment, and I went with that.
Who's your favorite baseball player on the Mets up there?
Right now, Francisco Lindor.
Well, what about if old Francisco
Lindor
was to have a home run hitting contest with a fifth grader from fucking East Queens Elementary School? Would you watch that?
You know, in theory, it could be entertaining, but in execution, I think it would just be a really sad and pathetic thing. I probably wouldn't watch it, no.
Well, whoever booked this ought to be executed. Yuka was dressed like a Japanese genie in a bottle. And what is she, 12 years old? I mean, she wouldn't qualify for most of the rides at Six Flags, would she? And then they started the match.
She's 31. She's 31 years old. 5'2", 31 years old.
5'2", eyes of blue, looks like something from a zoo.
Trained by the DDT Dojo.
Oh, I'm sure she was. 31 years old, and she must have been a heavy smoker in kindergarten, stunted her growth.
Well, you know, the genie, you know, the inside the...
Well, yeah, you need a bigger bottle. It's like a jockey. I guess the jockeys and genies have to naturally, because of the demands of the profession, they have to be smaller.
Yeah, they got to bring their own smoke.
They stood there and slapped each other in the face over and over. And then they were laying some of them in. For some unknown reason, that's a good way to lose an eardrum. For no reason whatsoever. Anyway, finally, Maria foiled the magical girl splash off the ropes and won the match. And then the drama began unfolding. Now, help me, Brian, with this. Maria is the heel, and she beat the babyface and then was going to menace the babyface further, but Willow Nightingale ran out to tell Maria not to do anything to Yuki. And this... Yuka. I'm sorry, or were you just going to vomit?
No,
I'm sorry.
Yuka. You said Yuki. It's Yuka, not Yuki.
Okay, Sakazaki.
Yuka Sakazaki, not Yuki.
Okay, I'm sorry. Not Yuki Sakazaka, but Yuka Sakazaki.
Again, the last name wasn't in question. I don't know why you threw that in there, but no, Yuka.
Well, because I had the I where the E was supposed to go. There's an A, E, I, O, and sometimes a U.
Except after C.
Well, that's true. So then Willow, when the music played, and Willow was standing guard over Yuka, so Maria couldn't menace her, then music plays, and Willow just turns her back on Maria to look at the music. And that's when Maria...
Seriously, what is she looking for?
There was nobody else there right then. It was just music, so she was looking at the music. Whoa, looking at the music all the time on a lazy morning. Anyway, so when she turned around to look at the music, Maria hit her. You know what she did, don't you? She hit Willow, hit Willow, hit Willow. With the title belt, boom, knocked her on her keister. Well, then Mitsu Arakawa came out because of that was her music. She was just running late.
Oh, it was Mina Shirakawa? I didn't watch this at all. No, you didn't say that, but I didn't realize that's who you were. Okay. Huh.
Yes. She came out, but then she was shocked at what Maria...
They shot her?
No, she was shocked, I say.
Oh.
Shocked.
She was shot.
No, we're not talking about what punishment they deserved. We're talking about what actually happened. She came out, but she was shocked that Maria had hit Willow, hit Willow, hit Willow, when Willow turned to watch Mitsu Arakawa's music. But then Maria ran to Mitsu and picked her up and hugged her, and they danced. And they danced. Wasn't that the Hooters? And then Yuka, who's been down in the ring since she got beat, she chased Maria away from hugging Mitsu, but then Mitsu and Yuka stared at each other because they didn't know what to think. I didn't either. I didn't know what to think.
You talk about how many of the Tony Khan book feuds are about friendships. This is a big one. It's about hugging. That's a big deal to him. Who's going to get that hug? Who deserves the hug? Who gets an all-out hug? No, this is, I mean, you know, Mina Shirakawa is very attractive, and Mariah May is very good in the ring, but the division is no.
Yeah.
It's a no. No.
I think we go back to that fifth grader at East Queens Elementary in the home run.
East Queens. Like there's a school called East Queens Elementary.
Well, how do you know that there isn't? Do you know every single school in all of Queens?
I'm willing to say there's no East Queens school.
Look it up
Elementary.
right now.
East Queens Elementary.
Well, maybe it's a high school. I'm sorry, I may be misinformed.
Who's informing you? Who is your informant?
They send me a goddamn list of all the schools I'm supposed to stay away from.
What?
So anyway, now it's time for our main event. So now the main event of Grand Slam is Darby Allin putting his title match that he earned before in some fashion that I've forgotten at this point against Bryan Danielson, or whoever the champion may be. He's putting that title shot on the line against Plumber John Moxley because Moxley said, hey, since I put the plastic bag over Danielson's face and he can't have the match with you at Grand Slam, even though he had a match at Grand Slam, just put your title match up against me for no reason. And Marina Shafir is there also. So that's our main event, right? You know, I gotta... What?
I was just going to say, before you get to the match, you know, even the entrance alone, there were things to talk about.
Well, I mean, he's got to come again through the breezeway or the archway or the bowels of the building and out through the thing. And is he a babyface or is he a heel? He's got no heat, but people, the crummy music he's using now, instead of Wild Thing, they can't sing along. You know, he walked right past the people. One guy who looked very pleased to be there patted him on the shoulder.
I'm not they're scared of him. They're scared of Marina Shafir.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, you probably, I believe from what you said earlier, I can't remember now whether it was on or off the air, you hated this like we both hate normal Plumber Moxley matches, right?
This is another Moxley match I could say is one of the worst matches I've ever seen. The pacing of it, the dead crowd during the pacing of it, and just his whole style in the ring is terrible. And this was endless. I don't want to see Moxley anymore in the ring. Like, I don't want to see him on the mic either.
I'm not saying, no, you can't say 20-something minutes of Darby Allin getting thrown around like a sack of fucking dog shit is endless.
He came out there wearing a camouflage jacket. That's the first time he's done that. He looked like that crazy guy in Elaine Bennis's office when he was working for Jay Peterman. Like, all of a sudden he's like, what are you making about death? Like, all of a sudden a really dark guy in there wearing the camouflage for no reason. He wasn't in the army. All of a sudden he's wearing a camouflage jacket.
He didn't want anybody to see him.
It's become apparent that Moxley must watch movies and get ideas. Because, again, his idea with Punk was Rocky 3. Let's do Rocky 3. Someone has to go back through the TV guide and see if there was a Rocky marathon on that weekend or something.
Well, no, because he's gone to the more obscure streaming shit now.
Again, now he's Neo Moxley. Moxley, Neo Moxley.
Neo Moxley?
Neo Moxley.
He's a Neo Mox Zoom dweeby for all of you Moon Unit Zappa fans.
He's in like fucking green corduroy. I don't even know what to think of this whole thing. And again, the tough one is Marina Shafir, who they never really established until a little bit on commentary here. as having a legitimate background where she can act like she's as tough as she's acting.
No,
Like,
I think they said that about a couple of years ago when she was actually on TV every once in a while before.
well, then she said we didn't know her, so I take her at her word.
But no, here's the thing. I didn't hate this as bad as I hate most of them, even though it was interminable. And people have done the deed, inseminated themselves, gotten pregnant, and delivered a child in less time than it took to fucking get this thing over with. But it's more entertaining than normal to watch Moxley when it's Darby, because you get to see which way he's going to try to figure out how to cripple himself next to try to get this fucking schlub Moxley over and fulfill his fantasies. And you can tell he has dreams at night in his world of bad B movies where he's this tough guy. Maybe one night he's Rambo. And then the next night, he's the Fight Club guy. And the next night, he's the Neo Moxie from the Australian independent film. And in real life, he wakes up the next day and he goes and he gets stretched in a fucking amateur jiu-jitsu tournament by his one and only opponent. But it's just... this kid, yeah, if he's willing to take these bumps, then once again... draw him back to 1 or 2 per match and put it on pay-per-view, or would it mean this? I don't know what the fuck this thing was supposed to mean otherwise than to give Moxley a 4.5-inch stiffy over getting to be a badass and beat somebody up. And the only way he can do it is when the other guy's fucking half his size and letting him. And then, even then, Moxley at one point, not only did Darby dive through the ropes when they had pulled up the mat so he landed flat of his back on the wood covering the tennis court, then Moxley suplexed him back first on the steel stairs, and 30 seconds later, Darby was coming off the top with a coffin drop. So what? And then, help me out on this, because I told you about my other DVR issue earlier in the show when it tried to skip ahead to the end of the Young Bucks match because it was fed up. Of course, they went overtime. My DVR froze at 10 o'clock. I recorded Modern Family after that so that I could see whatever they were going to do for a finish for whatever. And I tried to play Modern Family, and I got a black screen for 10 seconds, and then it jumps to the end. So what the fuck happened here?
That was the lights out portion.
Boy, it certainly was. It was pitch darker than a banker's heart, I'll tell you that.
Moxley choked out Darby. Darby was frothing. I guess he had a bloody mouth, so it was just like orange. It was kind of disgusting.
Orange froth? I thought that was a new soft drink.
Well, Tony has the money. But that was the end, and then someone in a hoodie ran out holding a blue object, a necktie. They throw back to when he was suspended with Nexus or whatever the fuck that was years ago. Bryan Danielson.
That was what, fucking 10, 12 years ago?
On Justin Roberts, too. But Bryan Danielson starts choking out Moxley. Of course, Moxley is saved by Marina Shafir. And then eventually Claudio and Pac also hit the ring. But Bryan Danielson has nothing to worry about. He is saved by Private Party, Commander, and Alex Abrahantes.
Oh, no. No.
And then he gets on the mic and he tells Moxley that he declares war, which I thought sounded a little cheesy the way it was done. But then he also said he was going to kick Moxley's fucking head in. How they bleep fucking as well as head and in.
I'm glad he didn't say thank you.
So there you go. At Wrestle Dream.
So wait a minute. So hold on here. Let me just get the scorecard down here. So there's Moxley, and there's Claudio, and Pac was out there with him.
Uh-huh.
And Schaefer. And was there anybody else on their side?
No, I don't think
okay.
so. I don't think so.
And the other side was Danielson,
American
2
Dragon.
members of Private Party.
That's right.
And Commander.
And Alex Abrahantes hit the ring, too.
Oh, well, and we got Alex, right? We got Alex. So Let's see. Commander and Alex are offset by Marina Schaefer. Claudio whipped both a private party. Ooh, you know, it's like Danielson declared war against the evil forces of Russia, but he's leading the armed forces of Lithuania into battle, possibly even Liechtenstein. Oh, boy. All righty.
Yeah, I mean, at least Private Party got a little bit of a comeuppance from Jon Moxley, no-selling them completely in the most amazing way last week when they got to hit the ring here. But another Team AEW versus Weird Outcast feud in some way.
Well, the question is, Brian, did anybody watch this television program this week?
AEW Dynamite, September 25th, Grand Slam, 8 to 10:05 p.m. according to...
Do you think Denny's can sue?
Are there still... I haven't seen a Denny's in years. Are they still out there?
Well, God, they're just going underground. You have to know the special knock, and you go down the flight of stairs. It's a dark hallway, and you go... Give me some Denny's.
Well, they had good French toast, I'll say that. But AEW Dynamite, 8 to 10:05 p.m. On average, watched by 700,000 viewers.
Even?
Dead even, according to this.
Well, and dead being the operative word. Well, at least they were saved the embarrassment of being in the high sixes again this week.
It's up 2% from last week, which was 687. The trailing 4 weeks, 690, so it's up 1% from that. Obviously a big success.
Big, major, big, huge. Where did they start in this journey into legendary status?
Again, these were compiled by WrestleNomics, AEW Dynamite on TBS, September 25th, 2024 for Dynamite. Why, I said Dynamite already. Quarter hour breakdown, here it is. Quarter 1, 8 to 8:15 p.m. The Nigel McGuinness live promo. They played some songs, and then Bryan Danielson versus Nigel McGuinness begins. 802,000 viewers.
Okay, then in that case, I'm willing to say that they're not going to plummet as precipitously as normal, because if they're within 100,000 of their average, they're going to do just swell.
Well, the swell continues into quarter 2, 8:15 to 8:30 p.m. Bryan Danielson versus Nigel McGuinness continued. The post-match with Christian Cage, Pac, Claudio Castagnoli, Jon Moxley. Actually, no, they skipped the Penn and Kip Sabian. The Pac Claudio Moxley thing says backstage angle. What was the angle? What did they do?
They were standing there when Christian came around and looked at him and ran off the other way, and that's the angle.
Oh. And then an ad break. 766,000 viewers.
See, I told you that's only 36,000 people they lost. That is much less than they normally lose. So they're on a path to prosperity here.
Quarter 3, 8:30 to 8:45 p.m. Hook versus Roderick Strong with picture-in-picture ads, and the post-match with the Undisputed Kingdom, and a show of honor for the Fuck the World Championship.
Yeah, you know, those Fuck the World people, they're always honorable.
724,000 viewers.
See, and now they're only down 78,000 from the start, and normally it's well into six figures by now, so this is a rousing return to form for these fine folks.
Well, we go now to quarter 4, 8:45 to 9 p.m. The post-match with Hook, Taz, and a retired belt. The ad break. The start of the Young Bucks versus Kyle Fletcher and Will Ospreay with picture-in-picture ads. 679,000 viewers.
Ouch. Okay. So now they're down 123,000, and they're going into the 9 o'clock hour with the Buckaroos in the ring, and they normally hemorrhage viewers. So did they pick any up at the top of the 9 o'clock hour, even though the Buckaroos were in the ring?
Quarter 5, the big 9 o'clock hour, 9 to 9:15 p.m. The continuation of the Bucks versus Fletcher and Ospreay with picture-in-picture ads. The conglomeration Rocky Romero backstage promo. 708,000 viewers.
Well, so they picked up 29,000 people to be only the second lowest rated quarter hour so far. But now the question becomes, when the people tuned in at the top of the hour and they were fed about another 10 minutes of the Lollipop Guild, did they turn around and head out the door again?
Well, we go to, what is this, quarter 6, 9:15 and 9:30 p.m. The Prince Nana MVP ramp angle, an ad break, and Mariah May versus Yuka Sakazaki. 638,000 viewers.
Ouch. Okay, so apparently 70,000 people said, oh, hell no. And now we are at the official lowest quarter hour of the show so far and down 164,000 people.
Well, we go to quarter 7, 9:30 to 9:45 p.m. The continuation of May vs. Sakazaki and the post-match with Willow Nightingale and Mina Shirakawa, an ad break, and the start of Jon Moxley versus Darby Allin. 615,000 viewers.
Ouch. So, even though they knew that it was safe because the Buckaroos had already come and gone, apparently they're as confused as we are about why they wanted to see Plummer versus Darby.
Well, that match continues into quarter 8. I remind you, we have a 6-minute overrun. Quarter 8, 9:45 to 10 p.m. Jon Moxley versus Darby Allin continued picture-in-picture ads. 684,000 viewers. 6-minute overrun, including the post-match with Claudio Castagnoli, Pac, Marina Shafir, Bryan Danielson, Private Party, and Commander. 708,000 viewers.
Okay, so apparently they did want to see poor old Darby. They just had to hide and make sure that the Buckaroos were gone. They picked up, what is this? 69,000 people from quarter 7 to quarter 8. So we discount the overrun because it's usually down. In this case, it's up, but only 24,000 people. That's people tuning in for the next fucking show. They started again strong and couldn't stop the people from leaving. They came back pretty much only at the end after they knew that all the rest of this caca was over with.
That's an accomplishment. Because you know what? There's been a lot of weeks where the main event stuff was the last segment into the overrun and people left. Bryan Danielson, Swerve Strickland, a bunch of things.
They like Darby.
I mean, again, it didn't go up to 850 or anything. But that match, it went from 615 and the overrun ended at 708. So that's better than everything else driving people away.
Oh, speaking of driving people away, we may have driven our listeners away with this. It's way too much. We need to cut back on this.
All right, and we shall do that right now.
Because we're done with it.
We're going to time travel.